Hello boys and girls, this is Jonathan from the Body of Evidence. Today I want to tell a story, which is essentially the story of how I became a skeptic. I don't think anybody becomes a skeptic overnight. Nobody embraces critical thinking over the course of a weekend. It's a progressive thing, and it was progressive for me as well, but there was one event that really was sort of the last step in my journey, so to speak. And I want to tell it to you, and it involves acupuncture, and it involves a medical doctor who made a big difference in my life. No, that's not you, Chris, somebody else. So acupuncture. So how did I get involved with acupuncture? I have chronic neck and shoulder pain. I've known about this for years. My boss at the time, this took place a few years ago, quite a few years ago. My boss at the time knew about this, and he really wanted to help. And he suggested to me acupuncture, and I kind of laughed at it because I didn't know that much about it, and I hadn't done my research, but it was sort of in a box in my head that said alternative medicine, and when you turn the box around, it also said crap. And so I basically told him as much, but he really wanted me to try, and I said, I'm not going to spend money on this. I mean, maybe it's true, maybe it works, but I'm not going to spend money on this. So somehow, long story short, he arranged for me to undergo acupuncture treatments for free via somebody who had a university degree, and this was being done in a sterile environment, so I had no fears of some shady clinic in somebody's basement who's reusing needles. So I went to see the guy, and I saw him for about 7 or 8 sessions. And I told him at the very beginning that I was a bit of a skeptic and I didn't believe in it, but if it works, then I'm going to see it. But I'm going to see a difference, I'm going to feel a difference in my pain levels. So he treated me as a skeptic, and this is very important because there is a slippery slope in alternative medicine. And when you go see an alternative medicine practitioner, they will often, if you present yourself as somebody who is skeptical, somebody who is not sure that this is the type of thing that really works, there's a very strong chance that they will take you at your word. And as they build a relationship of trust with you, they will start to slide down the well, slide down the hole into Wonderland, and start to go deeper and deeper into the abyss. I mean, it's kind of like Scientology, where you start off and you've got the little thing with the needle that says that you have negative feelings and anxiety and stress, and they can help you with this. And by a few decades later, when they trust you and when you trust them enough, you learn about Xenu and the aliens and the volcanoes, and you go, sure, why not? You're my friend. So at the very beginning, he was very much on an evidence-based level with me, and he was saying that, well, there are good peer-reviewed publications about acupuncture, and we'll keep it. We won't go too deep into the woo. However, that very first session, he looked at my tongue and told me that I had evil winds and too much heat, which is the nicest way anybody has ever said that I was too hot. So he starts with this, and he tells me that he's trying to avoid invasive procedures, so we're going to try laser acupuncture at the very beginning. And I said, laser acupuncture? What the hell is that? Well, as it turns out, he's using a handheld laser that he's focusing on the acupressure points. So we did that for about 4 sessions. And during those sessions, we also did some TENS, some transcutaneous electrical stimulation. He also gave me some exercises to do to reinforce certain muscles, so to his credit. But this is not alternative medicine. This is what a physical therapist would ask you to do as well. So at least it was that. That wasn't working. There was no long-term benefit for me. I felt a bit of relief at first for about an hour, and then the pain came back. So then we went into the needling sessions, actually inserting needles. And the very first session, he inserted needles only at the points of pain, which is how acupuncture began, if I remember correctly. It's not that you had actual meridians and acupuncture points on the body. They were just inserting needles at the points of pain. So that's what he did. And then he started to insert more needles into places that had nothing to do with where I was feeling pain. And also he was hooking up those needles to the TENS generator to generate some electricity. And we did that for about 4 sessions. And again, I was feeling better for about an hour, and then the pain was getting much worse at night and the following day and the following day. So the pain actually became worse throughout the treatment. And the reason why I was feeling better at the time, and the reason why most people feel better at the time of these alternative medicine treatments, is that there is something good about the placebo theater of it. And in my case, it was just gravity. It was the fact that if you have neck and shoulder pain, if you're standing up or if you're sitting down, your head weighs down on your neck and shoulders. And if you're lying down, then of course gravity takes care of your head and you don't feel that pressure on your neck and your shoulders. So of course you're going to feel some relief. I can do this on my bed. I can do this, every day for free. But it's a temporary form of relief. And that's what I was getting from that. So acupuncture itself didn't work for me. But here's where we keep falling down the rabbit hole, which is that at some point during the sessions, he recommended that I take some herbs. Because of course, needling is fine, but maybe it doesn't work for everyone. Maybe you need to do more than just, getting needles stuck in your skin for a while. So he recommended some articles. He sent me some articles that had been peer-reviewed. They were scientific articles. However, they had been written in Chinese, published in Chinese publications. And some of them had been translated into English. And so he gave me these publications and he said, look at this publication and try these herbs. And I'm going to read here because these herbs were recommended for yin vacuity and blood dryness. Now, I want to reassure you that my blood is fine. It's coursing through my veins and arteries, no problem. It is not dry. If it were dry, I wouldn't be here talking to you. But this is the kind of language that is used by traditional Chinese medicine because they knew nothing about the human body when they came up with this bullshit. They knew nothing about anatomy. The meridians and the acupuncture points do not correspond to any anatomical elements whatsoever of the human body. So this is all nonsense. However, these herbs can have effects. I mean, herbs have tons of chemicals in them. And I did a bit of research into this. I was open-minded enough to try the herbs, but I was worried because a lot of them had been associated with liver toxicity. And I like my liver. I like it just fine, and I want to keep it. So, but that's the problem, is that when you go see a traditional Chinese herbalist, they are not giving you acetaminophen, or 40 milligrams of acetaminophen, or however it is. They're not giving you a single molecule that has been produced in a clinically certified lab and that has been dosed in a consistent manner and is free of impurities. They are giving you an herb which contains hundreds of chemicals. And from one herb to the other, depending on where it was cultivated, where it comes from, it may have different quantities of these drugs and different drugs altogether. And maybe you're not even getting the herb that you think that you're getting. Maybe they're giving you something cheaper. I mean, we see this a lot with natural supplements, that about a third of them don't even contain what it says on the box, and there are contamination issues galore. So there are tons of issues with these Chinese herbs. But at the time I was a bit, I was a little too open-minded perhaps, and not the skeptic that I am today. So I was open enough to try it, but I wanted to have a doctor follow me up and do blood work and check my liver enzymes on a regular basis to make sure that I was fine. So luckily enough, I was working in a hospital. I knew a bunch of doctors. I emailed a geneticist that I knew, and I said, here's the situation. Would you consider following me up for this? And to his credit, he said, come see me in my office. We need to talk. And I went to see him, and I explained to him the situation, and he talked to me in a very nice way. And he essentially, made me say that traditional Chinese medicine must work because it's been used for thousands of years. Yes, I committed that logical fallacy before I knew that it was a logical fallacy. That's the argument from antiquity. Just because we've been doing something for a very long time doesn't mean that it works. In medicine, we used to use leeches. We used to drain people of their blood. We used to cut them open to dry them of their blood to get rid of whatever it was that was ailing them. We don't do that anymore because we evolve and we gain knowledge. So just because we've been doing something for a long time or we did it for a long time doesn't mean that it actually works. So thank you very much, Dr. Tishkovitz. If you're watching this, you made a big difference in my life. So I did not take the herbs. I stopped seeing the acupuncturist because it was BS and it wasn't working. So hopefully this little story has helped you understand where I'm coming from. And the fact that, I have tried some of these modalities. I'm very critical of alternative medicine because it doesn't work. But I've tried it. I've tried some of it. I saw a chiropractor also many, many years ago. I saw an acupuncturist. These things don't work. So if you have a similar experience and you want to share in the comments below, go ahead. Otherwise, check out our website, bodyofevidence.ca. We make tons of videos, some scripted, some unscripted. We have a podcast together, Chris and me. We write, we do a whole bunch of cool stuff, and we have a stage show coming up in Montreal. So check out bodyofevidence.ca and leave us your comments below. Comments, stories, share.